search for bodies and survivors is over in and around Moore, Oklahoma.
Next, the demolition, then rebuilding. Dan is live in Moore with details. Dan, good morning.
Good morning, Adrian, and we're in one location where the power of this EF5 tornado is really evident. I'm standing in what was an open field, and now we're seeing these enormous piles of twisted metal and other kinds of debris. There's a wrecked car with a steel girder, it looks like, poking up from it. There, in fact, I counted 3 or 4 massive 20 to 30 foot steel girders among this pile. All of this was just blown here by the tornado. For many people, the initial shock from this deadly weather is giving way to a determination to begin the difficult task of recovery and rebuilding. It's going to be a massive undertaking. Residents are now being allowed back into the neighborhoods that in some cases were completely obliterated by the deadly storm. As many predicted, it now has been upgraded to an EF5, the most powerful kind of tornado, with winds in excess of 200 miles per hour. The destruction that's been left behind still amazing to see and heartbreaking. The death toll remaining steady at 24. That number includes 9 children. While those victims are mourned and more than 200 injured continue to recover, many residents here are looking towards the future.
You roll up your sleeves, you put on your boots, you grab your gloves, you clean up yards, and everybody teams together. We take care of watching each other's kids, and we get it done.
The chief of the Moore Fire Department says he's confident there are no more survivors or bodies that will be pulled from the rubble. He says the wreckage of every house and other structure has been checked 3 separate times. This search and rescue effort did result, though, in about 100 survivors being pulled from the debris. Many of them were inside storm shelters who were unable to get out because the exits were blocked by the twisted steel, piles of debris, and other kinds of wreckage. And those people, along with many other folks in the city of Moore, are simply grateful that they survived this historic and deadly tornado. Adrian and Tim, back to you.
And Dan, key emphasis here obviously is when the tornado hit 2 schools, elementary schools, there have been some questions, from folks saying, why were there not safe rooms or shelters within these schools? What are you hearing from folks there? Are they concerned about the schools, and do they think changes need to be made to make kids more safe should another situation like this occur?
Well, I'll tell you, the people I talk to on the street, sometimes neighbors who are returning or trying to get into their neighborhoods as they were yesterday before they were allowed back in, they're not necessarily talking about specific policies. I think there's still a bit of shock, and people are still, worried about their belongings, their house, their future. So you're not hearing people necessarily say, hey, we've got to start building safe rooms in schools or strengthening those safe rooms. That is, I know, a very, very expensive undertaking. And, in an EF5 tornado, very often, no kinds of above-ground precautions are even going to be effective. So as far as, specific policies for the future, the folks here, I think, are going to wait a bit before they ask those difficult questions.